here we are ranking all of the subclasses for all of the classes according to how well they fit the 7 roles that make up a D&D party. Today we're going to be talking about the Barbarian subclasses, seeing how well that they compare to the Frontliner, the Beatdown, the Infiltrator, the Investigator, Support, the Utility, and the Negotiator. Cheers. So where we've got to start is the Ancestral Guardian Barbarian. Right at level 3, we're getting an ability Ancestral Protector, which is going to conjure spiritual warriors, and when we first hit a creature on our turn, they surround them so that they have disadvantage on attacks against anyone other than us. This is an extremely potent frontliner feature. Combine that with the Barbarian's natural survivability, high health, high armor class, even without armor, and those additional bonuses to saving throws. This is looking like an extremely powerful frontliner. The absolute top of A tier so far, and we are just at level 3. At level 6, we get Spirit Shield, which allows us to, as a reaction, reduce the damage dealt to an ally by 2d6. This does scale a little bit, although it's probably strongest here at 6th level. This is another essentially frontline feature. When you think about what a frontliner is for, it's there to prevent damage to allies, either by taking that damage on themselves, or, as in this case, just reducing it. So I'm going to say that we were already a top tier frontliner in A tier. We're going to be pushed over into S. This is an S tier frontlining class. If you need a tank in the party, Ancestral Guardian Barbarian is your guy. At 10th level, we get a bit of a different ability. Consult the Spirits is going to let us cast spells, Augury, and Clairvoyance, without a spell slot, obviously, or material component. Refreshes on a short rest, which is kind of nice, and I think this is very useful. Clairvoyance lets you see as if you were from in a different location. You kind of place a sensor, walk away, and then you can see from that position. And Augury gives you a basic wheel or woe answer about course of events is going to go, or like a particular strategy. It's not incredible stuff, but when you think about the Infiltrator Explorer role, it's all about this information gathering and being able to tell what's a good idea and what isn't. So at a very base level, I'll take it from a C to a B tier because of Consult the Spirits spellcasting. It's very good. Finally, at level 14, we're getting Vengeful Ancestors, which deals a little bit of damage to anyone who attacks that ally when we use our Spirit Shield. So we're not only reducing damage, we're dealing a little bit back, further discouraging them from attacking our allies. This is a neat frontliner feature, really solidifying us as S tier. The Battlerager Barbarian is restricted to dwarves only, which is random. You must use your Battlerager armor in order to have most of your particular features equipped. This means right off the bat, we are not using our unarmored defense, and what I said about the Infiltrator Explorer role, that we could have a high dexterity and not be wearing armor, is no longer true. So I'm downgrading the Battlerager from a C tier to a D tier in Infiltrator, because there are no features related to that role, and it makes us even worse in order to do the subclass. The Battlerager's armor essentially allows you to make a bonus action attack. This is similar somewhat to the Polearm Master, where if you make an attack with your action, you can use a bonus action to do a 1d4 hit plus your ability modifier. So that's good to have that kind of like one of the best parts of that feat to be added on. Because it's not a weapon, it's not eligible for things like Great Weapon Master, which is why Polearm Master was good. It doesn't give you that kind of reaction attack when they enter your range, obviously. It's just that bonus action attack, and you must use your strength modifier, which is normal. I think that's to be expected. We also deal extra damage when we grapple a target, so if we really want the grappling build, this dealing damage as we do it, but it only works the one time when we start the grapple. At 6th level, we have Reckless Abandon, which gives us temporary hit points equal to our Constitution modifier when we reckless attack. This is something that we would probably be doing anyway, so we are kind of regularly getting a little bit of extra health equal to our Constitution modifier, so it's probably like a 3 or a 4. At this level, that's good. 3 or 4 extra health every turn is good. kind of a frontliner feature, keeps you more survivable. At later levels, this is going to feel pretty bad. At 10th level, we get Battlerager Charge. We can take the dash action as a bonus action while we are raging. God, I had no idea who this is for. I guess this is to get us into the thick of it right at the start of combat so that our enemies are focused on us, making us a slightly better frontliner. And then Spiked Retribution at 14th level is actually a really cool ability. When a creature within 5 feet of you hits you with a melee attack, the attacker takes piercing damage if you're raging, aren't incapacitated, and are wearing your armor. How much piercing damage? 3. At level 14. Remember that at the same level, the Ancestral Guardian is getting to do this, is getting to do 5 damage to people when they attack an ally. Costs a reaction, I guess. This is not very good. I actually would love it if Spiked Retribution was swapped out for the Battlerager armor feature. So at 3rd level, people take damage when they hit you, and then later on, you get to make bonus action attacks with your armor. I think that'd be pretty cool. As it is, pretty garbage. I don't even know what this is supposed to be for. Like, is this a damage dealing feature? Is this a frontlining feature? Beats me. The Beast Barbarian is going to have the opportunity, when they rage, to choose a bestial feature that comes out from them. They're either choosing a Bite, which heals you for a little bit of the damage dealt, Claws, which allow you to make that bonus action attack, but the Claws are D6s, and you must use them if you're getting that bonus action attack, and then Tail, which you can use to hit a creature, and then it can also apply a D8 to your AC. I like the versatility of this class. I like that you're not locked into it immediately. You get to choose each time you rage. So maybe you want to be the damage dealer in a fight. Maybe you want to be the tank and you want to have that tail. It's very helpful. Numerically, I think the Beast Barbarian struggles a little bit to keep up with other fighting styles that are going on. So obviously, what you would want as a Barbarian usually is to like grab a big weapon like a great axe and be going in and swinging with that, and maybe grabbing Great Weapon Master at some point. That playstyle is just not available if you're going to make use of these subclass features. So how well do they replace that fighting style? I think not particularly well. It's worthy of note that these aren't going to scale. So the Bite dealing a D8, the Claws dealing a D6, the Tail dealing a D8, or adding a D8 to your armor class, is as good here at 3rd level as it's going to be at 10th level. So this is maybe very good at its level, right, at 3rd or 4th level, and it just starts to fall off the later you go. Bestial Soul is going to give you kind of a utility feature. You can choose between a swimming speed, breathing underwater, a climbing speed, including on the ceilings, big jump, a big old froggy jump. So I guess that's a modicum of utility, and I will give them some credit for that. It's also actually a pretty effective way of infiltrating, because you can maybe enter through a water tunnel because you can breathe underwater. You can climb on ceilings to avoid detection. Maybe you can jump over walls that would ordinarily keep you out. I think this is a B tier infiltrator, actually. Infectious Fury is going to force your target, when you hit them with one of your natural weapons, to make a wisdom save, or they have to either attack a creature of your choice, or just take 2d12 psychic damage. That damage is pretty good, but obviously damaging another creature that they can see is even better. I think that's a really fantastic feature for dealing a little bit of extra damage in extremely specific circumstances where you can get this to work. The spell save is based on your Constitution modifier. I think overall this doesn't necessarily increase our damage to any significant extent, if only because we're only using this like 4 times per long rest. It's dealing some extra damage, but not a substantial amount. For reference, some people at 10th level are getting 5th level spells and are dealing 40, 12 necrotic damage with a spell slot, right? Being able to deal 2d12 damage a couple extra times every once in a while is barely keeping pace with that. Call to the Hunt is a really cool support feature that I really love. You basically charge your whole party and they get d6s added to their damage for all of their attacks, which is great. And you gain temporary hit points for each person that, that you buff up with this, which is cool. It kind of like incentivizes you to get a big team together and go out on the hunt. It's not enough to make it a support class, of course, but, you know, cool ability. All right, it's time to talk about the Berserker. Where's this? Here we go. So the Berserker's primary class ability is Frenzy. Frenzy is an option when you go into a rage to make it a frenzy. When you do so, for the duration of your rage, basically the whole combat, you can make a single melee attack as a bonus action. Now, this is not limited to like a certain damage dice or like anything else with regards to features or damage, so you are just making another big Great Axe attack, maybe with Great Weapon Master, maybe adding on additional stuff, as a bonus action, every bonus action. So you fully weaponized your bonus action, you're dealing lots of extra damage on top of that, and this playstyle, the whole, Great Weapon Master, maybe even your Brutal Critical at later levels, maxing out your strength, is some of the highest sustained damage in the game that you can get. I mean, this really puts you on par with the best of the best spells. So I will give Frenzy an S tier in Beatdown. If you want to beat someone up, Frenzy is an amazing way to do it. Here's the problem. Once you are done raging and you are done beating people up, you gain a level of exhaustion. Now, the first level of exhaustion gives you disadvantage on all of your skill checks. Your next level of exhaustion decreases your speed. And generally speaking, you are going to be probably frenzying once or twice a day and refreshing one level exhaustion at night. So in general, you're going to hover around 1 or 2 levels of exhaustion over the course of your campaign if you have this class. So what does that disadvantage on skill checks mean? Well, it means when you try and stealth, you've got disadvantage. It means when you try and persuade someone or deceive someone, you've got disadvantage. It means when you try and do a medicine check or a nature check or an investigation check or a perception check, you've got disadvantage. So you're a terrible infiltrator, a terrible support, a terrible utility character, and a terrible negotiator. So all of those go to D. You're an S tier damage dealer. So that's 3rd level. Let's see where we go from there. Mindless Rage. At 6th level, you can't be charmed or frightened while raging. That's good. I would describe that as a frontline feature, I guess, because you are sort of protecting yourself so you can continue fighting. It basically helps you be more consistent and be harder to deal with, right? So it's helpful in the situations where it comes up. And then at 10th level, you can look at someone and frighten them if they fail a saving throw against your, sorry, what's this? Charisma modifier? Were we supposed to be taking charisma on this character? No. So they will make that save. So this is nothing. And then at 14th level, when you take damage from a creature that's within 5 feet of you, you can use a reaction to make a melee weapon attack against that creature. This is great. I love this. Very cool. You're now making more weapon attacks than anyone else all the time. If I hadn't already given it an S tier damage, then I would give it to it now. But that's it. That's the whole subclass. So you are an S tier in damage, and you also have the lowest average score across these 7 categories of any subclass that I will rank through the entire series. So there's that. Storm Herald is another interesting Barbarian subclass. It's a little frustrating to try and rank because it's another one that has all these choices in it. When you rage, you can choose to either be a Desert Storm, Sea Storm, or Tundra Storm. A Desert is going to deal fire damage to everyone around you. Fire damage is pretty small, but it does scale to another small number in the future. Sea is going to do lightning damage to a specific target. Presumably, this is like a lightning bolt coming down from the sky, which is neat, but it does a small amount of damage. And then Tundra gives temporary hit points to everyone around you, which is great. Very, very helpful, but also a very, very small amount of temporary hit points, and it scales to a very, very small number. I don't get what they were thinking when they created the subclass. I don't understand, like, these numbers should be double. Just all of them. All of them should be twice what they are right now. So, like, because you're only getting it once per combat. So it's not broken to make it, like, so Desert is 2 fire damage to each person around you when you rage. If this was 4, who would be upset about that? No one would be upset about that. Wild that they just didn't make the numbers higher. It is a bonus to damage, and it is a bonus to support, but the bonus is so small that I'm not going to move anything. And then at 6th level, we're choosing again, Desert, Sea, or Tundra, and it's kind of, so Desert is resistance to fire damage. You can touch fire, which if you're, okay, and sure, okay, resistance to fire damage. Good frontliner feature. Sea would be resistance to lightning damage, and you can breathe underwater, and you gain a swimming speed. That's nice. Tundra, you gain resistance to cold damage, touch water and turn it into ice, which is cool. So I think resistance to 1 damage type, choosing when you rage, is a nifty and useful frontliner feature. Do we break out of A tier for frontliner? No, we do not. Shielding Storm, it gives everyone in your party resistance to the damage type that you chose when you went to your rage. I could see certain campaigns where this is particularly helpful, like in the in an elemental themed campaign where you're like going to different elemental groups, you can protect your allies from all the fire damage or protect them from all of the cold damage. I think it'd be really, really overpowered as like a frontliner feature. But since you've no idea what's getting thrown at you at the table, you've no idea whether you're going to get one of these 3 damage types, and you have no idea if that's the only damage type that you're going to be seeing in that combat, I think you're going to stick with A tier for frontliner. Finally, at 14th level, we get a feature I consider to be really good. Just like Retaliation from the Berserker, when someone hits you, you can use your reaction to do something, and that something is based on what type of rage you're in. They either take fire damage equal to half your Barbarian level, which is 7 at this level. Sure. You can knock them prone with the Sea, or reduce their movement to 0 with the Tundra. Those are both really great. It's just coming online so late. And I just don't understand why this class is so weak. It's a great flavor for a class, and it's a great idea for a class. The numbers are just so low. So I'm just going to say Storm Herald keeps the Barbarian baseline. Okay, Totem Warrior. Spirit Seeker is a feature we get right at 3rd level. We can cast Beast Sense and Speak with Animals as rituals, which is fine. That's what we wanted to do with them. So we have some amount of like nature interaction and like some utility that we can do. Like we can talk to the animals and ask them what's up. We can kind of like use an animal as an infiltration host and kind of like explore an area if they agree to help us. That's pretty nifty. But the big feature, obviously, is Totem Spirit, which allows you to choose from one of 5 animals. All right, so the big one, right, is bear. That's the one that everyone takes. That's the one everyone talks about. So let's talk about that. Resistance to all damage except for psychic means you've effectively doubled your health pool, right? Your health pool, which is already D12s, already with a decent constitution modifier, is probably pretty high. So you are taking an enormous amount of damage. The other options are not terrible either. Wolf can give everyone advantage on attack rolls. Tiger, not so great, increases your jump distance. Elk increases your walking speed. Eagle lets you take the dash action as a bonus action. So, you know, there's some good options in there, but most of the time I think the biggest bang for your buck is grabbing the Bear Totem Spirit, which is going to make you a very strong frontliner. I'm not going to go so far as to say S tier, because I do think that there's a difference between having a lot of health and being able to take a lot of damage and incentivizing enemies to attack you. With Reckless Attack and with everything else, I think this is as close as you can get to S tier without quite making it over. This is the top of A tier right now at 3rd level. At 6th level, you're getting an animal spirit that is mostly a utility benefit. It's either going to increase movement speed, increase your perception, increase the speed that you can move while stealthing. Bear increases your carrying capacity. Overall, these are nice features. Most of these are party benefits as well, so it's kind of helping out your whole party. And I do I think this is a nifty utility feature, and is enough to bring us from C to B tier, I think. Spirit Walker is going to allow us to cast Commune with Nature, which lets you sense certain things in your environment. It says you know where there's fresh water, you know where there's food. I think this is a useful exploration skill. I do think this bumps us to a B tier in exploration. Commune with Nature is very useful for exploring your immediate environment. At 14th level, we get some amazing features, including a flying speed from the Eagle if we choose it, the potential to move through the space of the creatures with a bonus action. We can make bonus action attacks if we dash into the target with the Tiger. We can knock people prone, and the Bear will actually let you give disadvantage to enemies that are within 5 feet of you against anyone other than you. And this is the frontliner feature we've been missing to make us an incredible, awesome frontliner. This is S tier now. It is pretty late in the game, but since we were wobbling on the edge of A tier anyway, I'm just going to say overall this is an S tier frontlining subclass. I really want to love the Wild Magic Barbarian, and it's got a lot of really cool features. Magic awareness lets you sense when there are magical items or spell casting going on, areas of concentrated magic, it says, which is kind of useful and a neat infiltration exploring skill. Their main feature, of course, is going to be the Wild Surge. This is something when you enter your range, you roll on the Wild Magic table, not the Wild Magic table, but the Wild Magic for Barbarians table. And then that effect is kind of generally active during your range. None of these options are bad. They're all good, and they range a lot. So number 1 is Shadowy Tendrils deal damage to people around you. They make a Constitution saving throw, and you gain temporary hit points. This is kind of a one-time thing, so it's kind of a weaker option. And then it goes to you teleport and can use a bonus action to teleport again for the rest of your rage. A spirit pops up and is dealing force damage when it explodes. There's lots of different things. I'm not sure what the best possible option is. There are lots of good options for dealing a little bit of extra damage or protecting yourself or adding temporary hit points, all that kind of stuff. The issue here is the same as we saw with the Spirits Bard, which is whatever the situation that you're in is, might not be the situation that you want that ability for. If you are surrounded by enemies and you roll a 1 so that Shadow Tendrils lash out to everyone around you, that's great. But if you're not surrounded by enemies and that's the one you get, then that's the one you get. So it's got a consistency problem. And that is a little bit of an issue. So the question is, how resilient are these options to lots of different scenarios? And I think the answer that I have is they're all so low on damage or healing that they're not very resilient at all. For instance, Shadowy Tendrils at worst is 1d12 temporary hit points, which on average is 6 or 7 hit points. And as your main 3rd level feature, getting 6 or 7 temporary hit points once at the start of your rage is garbage. If you roll a 3, right, your little spirit explodes and deals damage to everyone within 5 feet of it. Are your enemies clustered? If they're not, then it's doing 1d6 force damage as a bonus action. Pretty bad. Let's go all the way to the top. A lightning bolt shoots from your chest. They have to see a Constitution saving throw or take 1d6 damage and be blinded until the start of your next turn. That's good, and then you can use it again as a bonus action, but they're making Constitution saving throws, the worst saving throw to target. They're taking minor amounts of damage. Basically, use your bonus action every turn to blind someone. This is helpful in some cases and terrible in others. these are not resilient to lots of different situations. So the result is they're not going to count towards any of our features, right? Because we can't rely on our wild magic table to boost us in our role in the party. As a side note, rolling a 6 until your rage ends, you're surrounded by light, you gain +1 bonus to your AC, and all allies within 10 feet of you gain the same bonus. Probably the best, most resilient one, in my opinion. So this one actually would be quite good and would make a decent frontliner feature, but compared to other classes that are getting other bonuses at 3rd level, it's pretty sad. Bolstering magic is a great support feature. It gives you the ability to either like bless an ally, well, not bless because it's a D3 instead of a D4. People have D3s? I don't know. Or it helps them regain expended spell slots equal to the number rolled in the die of the D3. I actually think this is kind of nice. I don't know if I really want to boost its support because it can't heal, right? The class as a whole cannot heal. The chance of it giving out temporary hit points or an AC boost or whatever is pretty low. This is good. It's a good feature, and if you have spellcasters in the party, they'll really appreciate you like supercharging their spellcasting. Unstable Backlash allows you to re-roll on your wild magic table and choose the new effect when you are hit with an attack or take damage while raging. This is going to give you the ability to kind of like use your reaction to keep re-rolling on the table until you get the thing you want. If your combat is really long, this is really, really good because it means you can hone in on the exact effect that's going to have like a great impact in this combat. If you don't have a long combat, so if your combat is like 3 or 4 rounds, you're probably still not getting the thing that you want. Maybe you will, and that'll be cool, but it's still pretty inconsistent. And then at 14th level, you're basically rolling with advantage on the table, which is exactly what you would expect to get with one of these kind of classes. So now you're rolling with advantage and you can re-roll whenever someone damages you. So I think you will consistently get whatever feature that you want to get. But nothing has scaled the damage or temporary hit points or AC bonus or anything that you've gotten from this table. So you are choosing with a fair degree of accuracy now, but the numbers are all terrible. They're terrible. At like 14th and 15th level, doing a D6 of damage with your bonus action is negligible. I mean, it might as well be 0. So I find this difficult to give any bonuses to. It's not really going to affect your damage in any significant way. Maybe you have a utility argument from the kind of like crowd control with like blinding and teleporting and creating difficult terrain. I wish I had seen that reflected in some of the other features as well to be able to give that bonus. I'm going to say that Wild Magic Barbarian is basically just the Barbarian baseline with some fun flavor on top of it. Our last subclass to talk about today is the Zealot. The Zealot is going to get Divine Fury, which deals additional damage once on each of your turns with your first attack, equal to 1d6 plus half your Barbarian level. That's actually pretty good damage. Right here at 3rd level, this is going to be like 5 damage extra per turn, which is good. It's certainly substantial. And then the damage is necrotic or radiant, which is great because those are rarely resisted damage types, or at least radiant isn't. You're also going to get Warrior of the Gods, which is what Zealots are known for. If you are resurrected through something like a Raise Dead spell, caster doesn't need material components. This is going to make you a very cheap person to resurrect over and over again, helping you continue to be a frontliner and kind of tank all of that damage and be assured that your character is not going anywhere. Fanatical Focus is going to let you basically re-roll saving throws while you are raging, but only once. So it's a little bit like Indomitable here at 6th level. I think this is very good. As a Barbarian, you had a very high health point total, you had a decent AC, so you are able to tank a lot of damage, but failing saving throws can really ruin your day because you can get charmed or frightened or you can be paralyzed. You could take more damage than you want to on a failed save. So now you're going to more consistently make that saving throw and be a better frontliner. Zealous Presence is a neat little support feature. You yell out as a bonus action. Everyone gets advantage on attack rolls and saving throws until the start of your next turn, so for 1 round. That's a very powerful ability, very good at like boosting up your allies. I really like it. We have no other support features. This really isn't the support role in the class that you want, but it is neat. Finally, 14th level, Rage Beyond Death is amazing. Basically, while you're raging, even if you're knocked to 0 hit points, you don't go unconscious, you basically continue to act, still making death saving throws, but even if you die while raging, it doesn't take effect until your rage ends. So this is very, very good. It essentially means you can take almost an unlimited amount of damage in your rage because you won't be knocked unconscious and it won't kill you. And if you do die at 14th level, someone in your party had better be holding on to like a raised dead or resurrection. Where does this put the Zealot in terms of frontliner status? Well, perhaps more than any other class, the Zealot is able to take damage. It is asking for damage to be poured on, making it saving throws rather often. This makes it a uniquely capable damage sponge. I do think that is really good in a frontliner capacity. The difficulty here is in its ability to draw the enemy's attention and to reduce damage dealt to allies. So this is a really good Barbarian in a situation where the rest of your party is maybe ranged spellcasters, and you are the only one in the melee. If there's somebody else in the melee, you're not going to be able to protect them. So it's difficult to issue this an S tier in frontlining. This is, though, top of A tier. And those are the Barbarian subclasses. We've gotten through quite a few of these. Interested to hear your thoughts in the comments. And of course, continue to subscribe to get updates on the next video. Cheers, guys.